I used to work overnight security at a regional hospital just outside of town. Nothing big or famous, just one of those places people go when they absolutely have to. The kind of hospital that looks normal in daylight but feels completely different once the sun goes down. My shift was from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I mostly worked alone. There was one supervisor on call, but they were usually asleep unless something serious happened. Most nights were quiet. Too quiet sometimes. The hospital itself was 3 floors. The first floor had the ER, reception, and a few exam rooms. The second floor was inpatient rooms. The third floor was mostly unused at night except for storage, maintenance offices, and a closed pediatric wing that hadn't been active in years but still technically existed on paper. My job was simple. Walk patrols every hour, check doors, monitor cameras, and respond to any calls from nurses or staff. At first, it was honestly boring. I liked it that way. But there's a kind of silence in hospitals at night that doesn't feel natural. Even when nothing is happening, it never feels like nothing is happening. It feels like something is waiting for something to happen. That's the best way I can describe it. The first night I noticed something strange. It was around 2:40 a.m. I was doing my usual camera sweep when I saw movement on the 3rd floor hallway camera. At first I thought it was a nurse. That wouldn't have been unusual. But then I realized no nurses were assigned to that floor overnight unless there was a patient up there. And the 3rd floor was supposed to be empty. I zoomed in. There was a man walking down the hallway. Not fast, not slow, just walking like he belonged there. He was wearing what looked like hospital scrubs, but they were old, faded, and didn't match any current staff uniforms. He stopped at the end of the hallway and just stood there facing the wall. I remember laughing a little under my breath because I thought maybe I was just tired. I radioed the night supervisor nurse and asked if anyone was supposed to be on the 3rd floor. She immediately said no. That's when I went up myself. The elevator ride felt longer than usual, even though I know logically it wasn't. When the doors opened onto the 3rd floor, the hallway was completely empty. Too empty. No footsteps, no voices, no movement. Just the faint hum of the lights. I walked the entire length of the hallway, checked every room. Nothing. No sign anyone had been there. I told myself it was probably a glitch in the camera system and went back down. But when I reviewed the footage again later, I saw it clearly. The man wasn't just standing there. He was looking directly at the camera. Like he knew I was watching him. I didn't report it. I should have. But I didn't want to sound paranoid on my 2nd week of the job. 2 nights later, it happened again. Same floor, same hallway. Only this time, he was closer. He was standing halfway down the corridor instead of at the end. And this time, when I checked the hallway in person, I found something different. The temperature. It was noticeably colder than the rest of the hospital. Not just a little. Enough that I could see my breath faintly when I exhaled. I checked every room again. Still nothing. But as I was heading back to the elevator, I heard something behind me. A soft sound. Like someone slowly dragging their hand along the wall. I turned around immediately. Nothing there. But the sound stopped the second I turned. That was the first time I felt it. That feeling you get when you know you are not alone, even when everything tells you that you are. After that, I started paying closer attention to the cameras. And that's when I noticed the pattern. It wasn't random. Every time he appeared, it was exactly at 2:40 a.m. Not 2:39, not 2:41, 2:40. And every time I went up there, he was gone before I arrived, like he knew how long it would take me to get there. On the 4th night, I decided I wasn't going to go up right away. I waited. I kept watching the camera feed. At exactly 2:40, he appeared again. Same hallway, same stillness. But this time, I didn't move. I stayed at the desk and watched. And that's when something changed. He started walking toward the camera, slowly, directly, step by step, until the feed cut out. Not frozen, not glitching, just gone. I checked the backup monitor. Same thing, blank feed for the 3rd floor. I called maintenance thinking the camera had failed. They said nothing was wrong with the system. While I was on the phone, the elevator next to me chimed. It was going up, from the 3rd floor. I never called it, I didn't take it. No one else was in the building. I watched the floor indicator. Then it stopped. The doors opened. And I was looking straight into an empty elevator. But the air coming out of it was freezing. Like it had been sitting in a freezer. I backed away and let the doors close. I didn't go up that night. But I also didn't sleep. The next night was worse, because this time I wasn't the only one who noticed something. A nurse came down to the desk around 3 a.m., asking if security had seen anyone on the pediatric floor. I told her no one was supposed to be up there. She looked confused and said a child had been heard laughing in one of the old rooms. I tried to brush it off, but she wasn't joking. She said it clearly came from room 312, the pediatric wing, the one that had been closed for years. I checked the camera feed, nothing. But when I went up there with her, we both heard it. A soft laugh, definitely a child. From inside a room that had been locked for years. The nurse refused to go any further. I unlocked the door to 312 myself. Inside, everything looked normal. Empty beds, covered equipment, no power in the room. But the moment I stepped in, the laughter stopped. And in the silence after it stopped, I heard something else. A voice, right behind me. It said my name. I turned around fast. Nothing. But the door had closed and I was locked inside. No wind, no draft, just closed. The nurse was still outside yelling for me, but I couldn't open it. The handle wouldn't move. Then I heard footsteps inside the room, slow, circling me, even though I could see there was no one there. That's when I noticed something on the wall. Something that hadn't been there before. Handprints, fresh ones, slowly appearing on the glass cabinet in front of me, like something invisible was pressing against it from the inside. I backed up into the door and hit it hard. It opened instantly, like it was never locked at all. The nurse pulled me out and asked what happened. I couldn't answer her. Because behind her, down the hallway, I saw him again. The man from the camera feed, standing at the end of the hall, watching. And this time, he wasn't alone. There were more shapes behind him. Not fully formed, not fully visible, just standing, waiting. The nurse didn't see them, only I did. And when I blinked, they were gone. After that night, I put in my resignation. I told them it was for personal reasons. No one argued. But here's the part I still can't explain. About a week after I left, I got a message from one of the nurses. Just one sentence. 3rd floor camera feed was checked after you left. There was never anyone on it. No man, no movement, nothing. But I know what I saw, and I know I wasn't the only one who heard it. Because sometimes the hospital still shows up in my dreams. And every time it does, it's always 2:40 a.m. And I'm still standing in that hallway, waiting for something to walk toward me from the dark.